Welcome back to the Bold Moves podcast. We're really glad you've joined us today. I feel like today is going to be a fun one. I'm just going to throw that out there. I have a very good feeling about what's going to happen today. Does anybody share that?
Is that how
vibe?
you live your life? Like, you wake up in the morning and
would you
like
judge me if that was true?
One.
Yeah.
No, that's a good starting attitude of the morning. Yeah.
Let's feel great about
this
this and what's about to happen. Okay, good. I feel good about this. Okay, so here's the thing. We are talking today about this idea that you got to be bold when it comes to life. Like we've been talking about this idea for a while at Crossroads now. You've got to be bold. You got to recognize that God is with you. And if he's calling you to dream big dreams and to boldly lead and to boldly serve, you're going to have to at some point be bold, overcome all your fears, do the things that you don't want to do, get uncomfortable. And I think what a lot of times holds people back is just the same fears and insecurities that all of us have. Like we get overwhelmed in the moment and we are terrified, and fear can paralyze you. You can think I'm not good enough. It's not happening right now. This is not the right space.
Oh yeah.
And that paralyzes. And I think we fall into that trap of living in our fears, and we don't lean out of that and lean into what God has called us to.
Yeah.
And so I want to lean into what God has called us to, and to dream the big dreams and to boldly lead and boldly serve. But at the same time, it's terrifying.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it doesn't matter if you've been doing that for a long time or if it's your first step. It's going to be terrifying.
So my personality type is I'm one that I like to have everything lined up, everything thought out, planned out, ready to go, every T crossed, every I dotted before I pull the trigger and say, let's go.
Interesting.
And so that's not our culture at Crossroads.
No, it is not. We build the plane in the air, Corey.
I think. Talk on it. Stop saying stuff like that out loud. That gives me anxiety.
I know it does.
I've heard, I don't know how many times I've heard, ready, fire, aim.
Yes.
That's... So I have heart palpitations because of all of that. It
causes like a physical, there's a physical cringe factor for you in that moment.
So it's been, I don't know, I've worked at Crossroads now for like over 8 years. And so I've
still not
had to
used
learn.
to it.
Well, still not.
I don't think you ever get used to that. But I've had to learn and adapt over the years to basically survive.
Yes.
But also become a little more comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Can you
if that
predict
makes
some
sense.
people's
That's
moves?
exactly right.
Can you predict what he's going to do?
Oh,
Probably getting there.
Often, yes.
Probably
yes.
getting there. Yes. What is hilarious is back in November, we had a big team strategy meeting for Crossroads as we're moving forward, because you have that recognition as an organization that what got you here won't get you where you're
That's
going.
right.
And you've got to change things up and figure out how do you solve those problems. And organizationally, I had that realization, Corey, of this exact thing where the guy that was leading us through that whole process was saying you have different types of people in the room, and some people are always on the go and they're dreamers, and some of the people are detail people, and those are usually the people that are saying no or wait, and those are the people that irritate you sometimes. And I was like, that's Corey.
So there it is. Now you know why.
But those people are necessary, because you can't just go, dream.
I like to think so. Yeah.
There has to be a balance. So we are each other's yin and yang. Is that how
There
that
you go.
works?
Yeah.
Is that the right
Did
way
you
to
just
use
say
yin and
you
yang?
need me here at Crossroads? Is that what you're saying?
I need you. Corey, you complete me.
Okay, let's back it up. I don't know. I'm responsible for editing this. I might take that out of this podcast.
That's fantastic. So let's talk about that. When we have insecurities or we have fears, how do you get through that? Because I think all of us at some point have had those moments where we're just kind of paralyzed by our fear. You have that idea of, oh man, I'm in way over my head.
Yeah.
How do you fake it till you make it? What does that look like in your life? Like for me, I'll never forget the first time I met my wife, the first time I saw Dana. It was at Martin's Supermarket, because that is where I worked. I was a bag boy, and I worked in the dairy department. That was me, putting the milk and the cheese and all that, and that was my job. And it was, I had to wear a winter coat all the time because I was in a refrigerator. It was ridiculous. But I met Dana, and the first time I saw her, it's like you'd think, oh, I've got like a line to say, or I'll be smooth, it'll be great. I literally was so overwhelmed in that moment because she was gorgeous. I stammered and stuttered all over myself. I literally said, hi. that was the first impression, the first thing I ever said, and somehow I overcame that. I have no idea. So I caught her in a bad moment, and she felt sorry for me. I think that's what happened. But you get overwhelmed, right? You have insecurity, and you just get overwhelmed. And that's true in a lot of areas of life. Does that work for you guys? As you fake it till you make it anywhere? Please don't say here at Crossroads at your job, Corey. That would be awful after the conversation we just had about balancing each other out. That would be terrible.
I'm definitely not going to say that then.
He's making it.
He's making it. Yeah, he's not faking it. He's making it. That's what I'm talking about. What's that look like for you guys? You ever deal with that?
You said an insecure moment. This has nothing to do with like God's called me here or there.
Sure.
I was just after more money. I took
You know what? Honesty is the best policy, Kristen.
When I was teaching, they had at the middle school, I wasn't teaching at the middle school, but the middle school was offering they needed coaches. They wanted to start training middle schoolers and get them like more experience in all of these sports as they went into high school. So they did these clubs, like
what kind of clubs? Be specific.
They did volleyball clubs, they did tennis clubs, they did things like that.
Have you played any of these sports in your history?
Well, I'm getting
as a
there.
person.
So,
this is
no.
so good. I'm so excited now.
I did volleyball one year, and that one I actually I did okay at coaching, but they paid well, because they wanted this program.
Oh yeah,
but they couldn't find any coaches. Well, then another year I did tennis, and I had told my parents, and John and I were somewhat newly dating at this time, and I was like, I don't think I've held a tennis racket since they kind of taught us tennis in middle school.
That's amazing.
So anyway, but I was like, I'm not kidding. I think they paid like $2,000 to coach this.
A great little
program.
bonus.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Some tennis. Yeah.
So, tennis players, if you don't know, they often get private lessons because they want to be really good at this.
Yes.
So here I was. I had a friend who had coached tennis before, and so he was like, come over, I'm going to teach you how to play tennis. So he just taught me the basic rules
That's all you
of
need.
everything.
You need to be one step ahead of your students. That's it.
Well, we had matches, and some of these parents picked up that because he was like, you can't tell them that you don't know how to play. And he was like, there's common athletic sports language, be aggressive, really get in there, whatever that you can use across the board. And so I did. And these parents that have their students, they were getting mad at me because I could not do any, I could not coach them.
Those kids were already beyond your capabilities.
Way beyond. Okay. So John, I remember he would show up at these tennis courts because, he's baffled by it. Oh boy, I got to go watch this girl coach tennis. And so he would show up with porta pit chicken and just watch
You're
the
literally
show.
the entertainment.
I was his entertainment.
That's so good.
And he was like,
okay.
Yep.
Well done.
Anyway, so I was very thankful for that season to be over. The parents were thankful. The students were thankful.
Did any of them go on to have amazing tennis careers?
I don't know. I tried to wipe that memory. So anyway.
I love that. I love that. That makes me happy.
I do think that there's we all work at Crossroads, and I think that's a battleground sometimes. We talked recently in an episode about the kind of the spiritual world that's around us, and that there is an enemy that's looking to take away our confidence, looking to come kill, steal, destroy.
Yep.
And so that plays itself out in our jobs, I think sometimes, honestly.
It's interesting.
For me, I've been a worship leader in different stages of my life.
Yeah.
And when I first started doing that, I can remember vividly being on the stage, on the platform, trying to lead people in worship. And there's just if people had any idea what's going through your mind, that's probably true for you, Tim.
Oh yeah,
as you're
I have a whole inner monologue when I'm speaking.
There's
sometimes.
This whole movie reel and these words that are being formed, and I'm thinking in my mind how many different times I have no idea. I'm not qualified to do this. I know every flaw that I have. I'm standing here. I'm trying to lead people, but who the heck am I?
Yeah.
I have no business being up here whatsoever. And what's really cool is that often it's those moments where I would leave the platform and come down, and that's when people would be so encouraging and say, that was really good.
Yes.
Today was awesome. Thanks for doing that.
So it's funny that you say it like that, because when you're preaching every week, it's sometimes you feel oh man, I just knocked that out of the park. That was good. Yeah. And those are usually the Sundays where I get home and Dana was like, no, it was okay.
Oh man.
And then the weeks where I don't feel like that landed. It's that's when people, to your point, you're praying with people, they're weeping, the Holy Spirit spoke to them. It's you realize, oh, God takes what I'm giving. I give it my best, obviously, but even if I just totally brutally mess it up, God still uses it. And that's what's awesome about stepping out of that comfort zone when it comes to serving God. And I want to just encourage everybody. I think God encourages all of us to dream bold dreams for our lives, to boldly lead, just step out of the comfort zone and lead the charge, because he's looking for people who will guide people toward him on that mission, and to serve. And here at Crossroads, serving has got to be a critical part of our culture. That's how we claim our purpose. That's how we live into the life that God created each of us for. Yeah. And so I love the idea of just encouraging everyone to lead the charge, to boldly dream, boldly lead, boldly serve, and step out of your comfort zone and overcome your fears. Because you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to be perfect to make a difference. And one of the amazing opportunities that we have at Crossroads right now is our new community center. People don't think about it. People, I think, feel a little insecure, like, well, I don't know much about it. I don't know how I could really offer my help. And I love that we're talking to Carrie Dume today for 5 good minutes, because she's been a huge piece of bringing our community center to life and moving that ball forward. And there are all kinds of amazing ways that people can serve and make a difference. So let's give it up for Carrie Dume as she gives us 5 good minutes today. All right, we are here with Carrie Dume. She has joined us in studio for 5 good minutes. Let's give Carrie a welcome right here. We don't have very often people in studio, and the added bonus today, Carrie, is that we substituted you for Corey. And honestly, we were talking about this earlier in the podcast. Corey sometimes is the worst. You know, am I right, Kristen?
I did not say any of this. I just sat and listened.
I think I want no part of that.
I'm throwing Kristen under the bus there, and Corey. Yeah, I'm kidding, of course. But it's great to have you in the studio with us to talk about the community center. You have actually been a pretty integral part in helping us get that off the ground and building the volunteer base for what's happening there. And I think that even though it's been open for a few months now, there's a lot of people who just have questions like, hey, what's happening here? And we just want to keep highlighting it so that people know there is an amazing opportunity here to step out of the comfort zone and get involved with something that's making a real impact in our community. So let's talk about the vision of the community center. I mean, we're doing everything we can to invest in our community so that we can have stronger families, stronger communities, and provide opportunities just to connect people with hope, to help them find their purpose, to give them a place to belong. And so talk to us about that. What have you been a part of? What do you see? And what excites you about the community center?
Thank you guys for having me on today. I really appreciate that. So I have been loving being a part of the community center.
Good.
So my role is helping with the volunteers and scheduling.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have lots of opportunities for volunteers.
Yes, we do.
If you know some people who would like to volunteer, I have a place to plug them in.
I think they're listening right now.
So what are they doing when they volunteer?
So when somebody volunteers, there's 3 main areas that they take part in. So the first is checking people in, because every time somebody comes, we scan their ID, we give them a little name badge so we know who all is there.
Yeah, it's a great system. It's a great setup. Yeah, it's
we
fantastic.
have a cafe, so if your kids get hungry, which if you have kids, we know the kids get hungry.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got snacks for the kids, coffee for the adults if they want it.
What's ironic about that cafe is that all the food that they have for the kids, like the Sour Patch Kids and the M&Ms, those are all also my favorite foods.
Yeah.
And I realized I never really grew up.
I've seen Jamie eating some of those foods.
Oh, busted. We're going to have to bring that up in the next staff meeting as well.
I heard a rumor that some of that candy that's theirs is from you. You made a suggestion on some of those candy items. Is it true?
Those are awful rumors. That might be true.
It might be true. But so we have the cafe. They would help out in the cafe.
Yeah.
And then the other position is just walking around in the playground area, making sure the kids aren't running over each other, making sure they're following the rules.
Yes. And there's not many rules. Like wear socks, don't run, be kind. I think it's that. It's that simple. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
The slides are one way. That's a big one.
The slides are one way
only. And then when you're walking around in there, then you're available to talk to the families, which is really important.
Yeah.
That's a huge part of it because like you said, stronger families, stronger communities.
Yes.
Yeah. And so a way that we can do that is by having conversations with the families, checking in with them. Because truly, you don't know day to day what is going on in somebody's life.
That's exactly right.
And we want to be there for them.
So it creates what I love about the community center already. In just the first few months, it's already created all kinds of opportunities just to make connections that we wouldn't have had otherwise. I think we just added up the numbers late last week, there have already been over 3,000 unique visitors through the community center.
Wow.
And we really haven't even started advertising it like we
Right.
have wanted to until right now. And so already we have all these people coming onto our property, creating this opportunity for us to have relationships with them and to get to know them. And just that makes a huge difference, because in the culture that we live in, even though we're all more connected digitally and through social media than ever before, we've never been more isolated. And so to create these opportunities for kids to come out and play, I mean, just there's power in just coming to play and parents having a chance to talk and get to know each other. It's a much bigger deal than I think we think it is.
It is. It's huge. And we've even started having some classes there as well.
Yes.
And one of the classes is called a parenting cafe, where you can come.
Awesome.
You have free childcare, which is huge
Oh,
for
that's a
us
big deal.
moms. We love that, right?
Absolutely, it is.
So the kids can play and the parents can talk to each other and build relationships and get tips from each other, you know?
You don't
we
have to do
all
this by
something-
yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
We all have something to teach each other.
You've brought up a great point, because we're also partnering with a lot of other organizations in our community that are helping families. What are some of the different groups that are already meeting? What's happening there?
We are working with Habitat for Humanity.
That's
and
awesome.
we're also working with CAPS.
Oh, that's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about what CAPS is? Because I don't think everybody knows, because that's a great organization.
Yes. So their vision is very similar to ours. They want to work with children and families. They want to empower families.
And they have all kinds of resources. And in partnering with them, we're bringing their resources right to our community center and exposing everybody, all these families, these amazing tools that can help them become stronger families and make our family that much, or to invest in stronger families and have stronger communities. I know that another partnership we have is with foster care and with foster parents. There's some amazing relationships being built there as well. And I know that in the future, we have already plans for more parenting classes, some marriage classes, music classes for kids. Like it's already starting to expand. And the whole idea is it's just that many more entry points just for us to connect with families. And again, bring them something that gives them hope, bring them part of a community that they can belong to, help them find their purpose, and just invest in these families.
That's right. I'm really excited about it. You know, the Bible says that we are supposed to carry each other's burdens.
That's
and
good.
This is a wonderful way that we can do that. We want to walk alongside the families as they go through life. We're meant to be relational. And we want to work with each other. And relationships don't happen just Sunday morning.
No.
So it's important that we're open this much.
Well, that's what's beautiful about the community center is it's allowing Crossroads to have that impact throughout the week. People aren't just coming to Crossroads on Sundays. They're coming every single day of the week, and it's creating these amazing opportunities. So again, when we talk about getting involved, like volunteering, you might not think it's a big deal, like to say, oh, I'll give 3 hours a month to work a 2 to 5 shift in the afternoon. Like in that shift, you're going to meet all kinds of people. Sometimes it's just as simple as recognizing someone's struggling. They look discouraged. Hey, what's going on? How can I pray for you? That kind of thing. Oh, those interactions make so much more of a difference than we know. And those conversations are already happening all over the place because of the community center. And by volunteering, by putting yourself out there, you get to be a part of those moments.
Yes, absolutely. We've already been able to experience that, where we've been able to pray with people. And they just pour their hearts out, because you don't know what somebody's going through until you ask. Ask them, how are you doing? How can I pray for you? What can we do for you? And it means a lot for them to know that we as a church are there to support them.
Absolutely, it does. How do people sign up to be a part of this? Because we've cast a pretty good vision here for what's happening at the community center. What's the next step? How do people get involved if they're interested?
They should go to our website.
They absolutely should.
Yes.
thecommunitycenter.co. I don't know if I'm saying that right. .co. There it is. Thecommunitycenter.co. Is that right, Kristen?
That's right.
You're a social media guru.
Yeah, we have a Facebook and an Instagram page up and ready to go, but it has a link to the website, and you can find us there.
With the website, you can check out the classes that we have, but then you can also send an email and let us know if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to be a part of what God is doing there.
Fantastic. Awesome. My son works there in the evenings, and
does.
It's been so fun to see him just start to blossom in that role and to be stunned, like honestly, to be shocked as a parent to hear people say, hey, we saw your son at the community center. He did a great job. And I'm like, are you talking about my son? Like, no, I'm just kidding. Like, that's awesome. And he's leaned into that, and he's seen, hey, there's some great opportunities here. And so just getting involved, it puts you in that world where you can use your gifts and abilities just by making yourself available, taking that bold step, making that bold move. You can put yourself out in that position where you're dreaming the bold dreams, you're boldly leading, you're boldly serving, and you're making a difference. That's exciting. Well, Carrie, thank you for joining us on this topic and sharing your heart with us, because what you're doing is awesome, and you're building a team that's going to make a difference in our community. So thank you for leading the charge and for being bold.
Thanks. It's a pleasure. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. And honestly, it was so much better having you in here than Corey. So thanks again. It was great to have you.
Absolutely.
Well, those were 5 good minutes with Carrie Dume, and I guess welcome back, Corey.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. That was the perfect level of emotion for that. That got me. Thank you for that. It's genuinely good to have you back, Corey. For being my nemesis in life, I'm glad to see you. Oh, that's so fun. In all seriousness, having Carrie on and talk about the community center, that was great. I love how passionate she is about that, and she's making a huge difference just by leading the charge on that. And I think there's something to be said about just circling back to, you might feel insecure, you might feel overwhelmed, like you don't really have a lot to offer, and it's just intimidating. But stepping out of your comfort zone and putting yourself out there and investing in something that really is meaningful and has really eternal significance, it can start a whole new phase of life. Like my willingness to serve in college ultimately led to my call to ministry. It set the tone for me. And I think that people want to be a part of something greater than themselves. And that's how we do it.
Well, so the community center is a playground, right? I mean, that's ultimately what it is.
That's the big hook.
And that's everybody sees it when they're driving past the campus and they can look in the windows and see this huge, amazing, awesome playground.
And specifically, the goal was that when people drive by in their cars, their kids see that playground all lit up at night and are begging their parents to get there. That is clearly the goal. Unapologetically, that was the goal, yes.
And they do.
And they do.
Well,
it works.
But if that's all it is to Crossroads, then it's a very expensive playground. Yes. That's all it is.
Yes. It is much, much more than that.
It's so much more because the point is relationships.
Yes.
We've talked about that kind of a couple times here recently, just how important it is to form relationships with people.
Yep.
And that's what it is. I mean, these are people from our community. We've identified this before and said that there are probably people that will step in to our community center to have kids go run through the playground that may never make it to a Sunday morning at Crossroads. And so it's the real battleground. It's a place for just conversation to happen, to build relationships. Maybe you see somebody, you talk to them once, maybe you serve there a second time and they're back. Yeah. And all of a sudden you've got a connection and a relationship has been formed. And that's how lives change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we have to be willing to put ourselves out there.
God uses us and he uses us in all of those ways. And it's not our ability that makes that happen. It's our willingness to say yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're never too young and you're never too old to start. I feel like, didn't you have a story of someone that was going above and beyond?
I was going to tell the story of Flora. We were doing a community project.
Rose.
She passed a few years ago, but I remember we were making beds and she was bound and determined to help. And the way she helped was she took a board from one person and passed it to the next person.
So good.
But that's the thing about serving. People feel like what they're doing is not significant, but we write cards to people every single week as a staff thanking people for what they do, because even like we can go back to Carter. Like Carter, he's more than he knows. Like he's connecting people.
It makes a difference.
And they walk in and they know that's Carter. That's Carter. And so when you serve, you become that person, that it's
and
just
you create
there.
That community. We're all part of that. And so, we've been centering the focus of this on the community center, and that's great. Like, hey, if you're in Goshen, Elkhart, be part of the community center. It's awesome. But wherever you are, if you're in St. Pete or Nashville or wherever you're watching or listening, you got to engage in the mission that you were created for. That's how we fully engage in that, by putting ourselves out there. And the reality is, we were not created to sit on the sidelines and just consume. We were created to contribute. And so I think the bold move that we talk about today is just being bold, getting yourself out there, boldly dream about how God could use you, boldly lead, step out of your comfort zone, and boldly serve. Like you've got this. Absolutely. You can make a difference. Yeah. So if it's something in your mind you're trying to figure out, I'm insecure, it's intimidating, make this your bold move. Get out there, let God use your gifts, and you're going to make more of a difference than you know. Exactly. I think we did it. We did it. Hey, when it comes time to make your move, be bold. We'll see you next week.